Welcome you all. In this session, we are going to see about Spring MVC with JDBC. When we speak about the Spring MVC, it is model, view and control. Model is the one which is connected with the database. View is the one which is connected to the end user. Whatever we are seeing in the front web page, that is the view, the JSP pages. And the controller is the one which will be in between the model and the view. That means it will have the logic, it will receive the request and it will produce the response back. Receive the request from JSP page, communicate to the database and get the response and send it to the JSP page. That is the work of the controller. Now we will look at the required files for this project. So this project is a web app project. Then later we will convert that project into the quick start one as well. That means we need both web app and quick start project. While creating the web app project, we will get the web app folder and index.jsp page, and then the web app folder, web.inf folder, inside that web.xml file. So these things we will be getting while creating the web app application using the Maven project. We will be additionally adding the JSP pages inside the JSP folder. There is 3 JSP page: add, show and delete, add, show and edit. And then we will be creating the Spring servlet.xml file, which is for the dependency injection of Spring. Now in the quick start way, we will be having certain classes under the package. The first class is like the student bean class. The second class is the like DAO class, which will have the query for the database. The first class will have only the Pojo class attributes, that is the bean class. And the second class will have the query for database. The third class is the controller class, which will receive the request and produces the response. Now we are having the model, that is DAO, view, that is JSP pages, and controller, that is app controller class here. Let me look at the annotations which we are going to use at the controller class. We will be using the controller annotation to make the normal class as a controller class. We will be using get mapping to receive the request from the URL, and we will be using the post mapping when we want to receive the request as the request body from the form submission. And we will be using path variable to access any ID value kind of coming in the URL. We can access by path variable. And then we will be using model attribute, @model attribute, which will be receiving the request body from the form submission. So path variable will receive something like ID value from the URL path, and model attribute will receive something like request body from the form submission. Now the Spring servlet.xml file should have a bean opening tag and the bean closing tag with certain namespaces, and in between we will have multiple beans which can be injected in our code that we will write in the application. Now we will look at the dependencies. The first one, the Spring MVC dependency. This is for the model, view, controller architecture associated with the Spring. The second one, Tomcat Jasper dependency. This is for the server. Third one, Servlet API, because we are going to use Servlet here to start the controller. Obviously we are using JSP pages, but at the same time there will be a servlet connection to start the controller. And then we will be using JSTL This is for the JSP pages. In the JSP page, we will have certain namespaces imported on the top, and that we will use it in the application. Then MySQL connector Java, this is for MySQL connection, and Spring JDBC, this is the one associated with the Spring and the database connection. Then finally we will look at the application development now. I am going to use the Eclipse Enterprise Edition IDE for this work. Let me open the IDE. Now the IDE is opened. We will create a new Maven project by clicking File, New, Maven Project, and then in this wizard click Next. In the filter type Maven Archetype Web App. Remember, this web app we are going to convert to quick start as well. That means we will have both Java classes and the front-end design. I will be creating org.apache.maven archetypes, this 1.4 version of web app. Now com.klu is the group ID and the artifact ID I have to give. The artifact ID is nothing but the project name. I will just give Spring MVC as the project name. Then finish. It is asking for yes, just give yes, it will create the project. Now the project is created. You can able to see in the left side Spring MVC. If you extract the project, there is an error mark in SRC. Just go into the SRC main. Here the web app folder is created as we discussed earlier because it is a Spring web app application. That means Maven web app application. So now extract the web app. See, there is a error in index.jsp. If you open the file, actually it is a very simple HTML code which had no error in the code. This error is happening because of the dependency. If we put the dependencies in the pom.xml, so this error will be removed. So where we will put the dependency? In the pom.xml under the dependencies tag. So here we have to paste the dependencies. Let me bring in all the dependencies which we required for this application. Now I had brought in all the dependencies which are in the PPT. The first dependency is Spring MVC dependency. The second one is the Tomcat Jasper. Third one Servlet API. And fourth one the JSTL dependency. Fifth the MySQL connector Java. Sixth Spring JDBC. I had brought in all the dependencies which are in our PPT. Okay, I had pasted that under the dependencies tag as well. Now just save your project, and after saving you have to update the Spring MVC Maven project. This updation is mandatory since you touch the dependencies of pom.xml. Just go to Maven and then update project, tick on force update and then update the project. Once you updated the project, you can able to notice in the left side the error in the index.jsp is been removed. So now the dependencies are made with the project. We have to go with the other files. As I already said, this is a web app project and we have to convert this as a quick start as well. So under SRC main, we need one more folder. So you right click the main and then new folder. That folder name is Java. That means SRC main Java. When you create the SRC main Java, you will automatically get a folder in the top in a single line SRC main Java. There won't be any package inside. Okay, you have to create the packages and the classes inside. Suppose if you are not getting this SRC main Java in the top, you have to right click the Java folder now and then the build path, and then you can choose use as a source folder. Then this will become a source folder for your Maven project. That means src main Java will appear in a single line on the top. Okay, now we have to create our classes which is required. In our PPT, I had said to you there is 3 classes required in our package. So first one, package required. We have to create a package by right clicking src main Java, new package. So the package name I will say com.klu, that is the name of the group. We can give any package name. I am just giving it as com.klu. Dot the project name Spring MVC. I am giving the group ID dot, that means group name dot project name as the package name. Now the package is being created under src main Java. So under the package you have to create the classes. Now right click the package, go to new and then class. The class name should be student. This is the bean class. So in this bean class I actually required just 2 attributes. One is int id, another one is string name. Just for the simplicity I am having the attributes count as 2. Now I need the constructor to be created for this, and setter and getter method. Just go to source. You can able to see generate getters and setters. Give this select all and then generate. So setters and getters are generated. Now just we need the constructor. To create the constructor, just right click on it, go to source, again generate constructor using fields, select all and generate the constructor. So the constructor will be generated, and then we need one empty constructor as well because we are having the parameterized constructor. Just copy this constructor, paste it, remove the fields which you are having, and that will become an empty constructor. This is the empty constructor. So we had an empty constructor and then the parameterized constructor and setter getter methods in our bean class. The bean class is done. Now we have to create the other 2 classes. Just right click the package, go to new and then class. Now we want the DAO class. So I am just typing DAO and I am creating the class in the name of DAO. This DAO class will have a query for the database connection, and then we need one more class called controller, app controller class. This app controller class is to receive the request and respond back. Now first we will complete our DAO class and then we will come to our controller class. Go to DAO class. First thing, this class is connected with the database, so we need to write a query with the help of JDBC. That means I have to create JDBC template. You can give control space so that you will get a suggestion, JDBC template class from springframework.jdbc.core. Just import this class and create an object for this as JDBC template. So now we are going to use this. Before we are going to use this, the right side part of this JDBC template need to be assigned. That means the heap memory. Now you have to create a setter and getter methods for this. Just go to source, generate getters and setters, and then just select the JDBC template and generate it. This will actually make the injection possible from the runtime. That means we are going to inject the right side part by the Spring through the runtime with the help of the setter method. This setter method will inject the data for the JDBC on the runtime. Okay. Now assuming the JDBC template is ready, and then we will go for our CRUD operations. First I would like to do the insert operation with the help of the function. So public int and then the function name, like just insert. So this function actually need to receive the parameter. The parameter name is just like a student object, student space yes. So this student object will be receiving with the values, and we need to use that one to save this. First we need to write a query. Just I'm typing string space. This is a SQL query, so just I'm giving it as SQL equal to, and then within the double quotes you can write a query. Insert into table name. Table name I will say it as MVC student. MVC student as table name. Just I will make it as student MVC, that is better. Student MVC. Values. I have to give the values over here. The values I have to get it from the S object. That means the S object should be return outside the quotes. We are having the double quotes now, we have to write it outside the quotes. That is, and that should be inside this parenthesis. That means we have to close the bracket here. So now you see, I had the left side part of the query and then the right side part of the query. So in between, if I add the plus now, it will be concatenated like this. So now in between the plus, I can write the object name dot the function name. So I am writing yes dot get id, so which will retrieve the id value. Then after getting the id value, I need to insert the name as well. id and name. id is the integer, so I am just using it directly, and then after that to insert the name, I am just giving comma here. So here I need to insert the name. So when I am inserting the name, once again it is a object name dot function name. It's like a variable. So I have to use the same methodology to break the string into two parts and concatenation in between. Here I have to say s dot get of name. Now name is a string, right? And id is an integer. While writing the SQL query, normally we will be writing something like this, which I will show down. Okay, we'll be writing insert into student MVC values. You will give 10 comma name as something like name1. If you see this query, the 10 is not having the double quotes and name is having the double quotes. That means here the s.get name should have the double quotes for it. This can be achieved by just adding one more single quotes before the double quotes. So I'm just adding the single quotes here, and then similarly after the double quotes one more single quotes. This is the formatting which will make like this. The name will be in the double quotes. Okay, so I'm just making one more single quotes before the double quotes and one more single quotes after the double quotes. Now I hope so you had understood the query, how to write it. Now I had a query here, but I'm not having a return statement and the execution. Now I will do both in the same line. I'm just having a return with the execution. I have to write return JDBC template dot update. Any values inside the table like insert, delete kind of operations can be done by update. Any values like any query to alter the data structure can be done by execute. Any retrieval can be done by query. That means JDBC template.execute for creating the table, JDBC template.update for insertion, updation and deletion operation, JDBC template.query for retrieval operation. Now we are using the insertion, so JDBC template.update. Inside that I have to give the query SQL. Now this will be executed and the answer of this, that means the return of this, will be number of rows affected. That is an integer value and that will be returned for this function. Similarly, I need to create a function for update and delete. So I am just using the update function now, public int update. So for update function also I am getting the student object inside. Here I have to write the update query. So directly I have to say update and then the table name, update table name, set, and then the parameter name. The parameter name is going to be name, set name equal to set name equal to the name value, and then I have to write the var condition, var id equal to. Now once again I have to use the object name dot function name to retrieve it, so I have to split this. I'm going to split this into two parts. So this is the right side part and this entire thing is the left side part. Okay, the right side part is this one. So in between I'm just going to add two pluses for concatenation, and here I can say s dot get id, and remember this is a integer value, so no need to add single quotes before and after the double quotes. But for name I had added that single quotes before and add after. Okay, so now the query for update is ready. Now just I have to say the same JDBC template.update of SQL, which will return the number of rows affected by the update operation. Then similarly I have to delete it. While deletion, I don't want to get the entire object here. I can get only the id for delete, that is int id, and then I can say the delete query here. Delete from table name student MVC where id equal to, here once again I have to split the string, so two double quotes. In between I am just splitting the string with the plus symbol, and here I will say just id value. So it will be deleted with the JDBC template.update of SQL. Then the deleted number of rows will be returned. Now I had done the insert, update and delete. I would like to do two more operations, that is public, just I want to student get student by id, that means with one id I want to find the student. For this purpose I need to get the id as input, and then I need to write a SQL query. Just I have to write select star from student MVC where id equal to I have to once again split the string. Just in the same manner I am splitting it, ID. So now I have to return it. Return JDBC template dot. Here we will choose the function called, just go down, you can able to find query for object. We are going to write a query for retrieving a single object. That's why we are picking the query for object function here. And with the query for object function, we need to go for 3 parameters here, which is going to have the SQL query and then the object of args and then the row mapper. Okay, so you pick this one. Okay, the SQL query, the object of args and the row mapper. First the SQL query is been given, then the object need to be provided. Just we have to write new object, then square brackets and then the ID value, which we just used in the where condition, and then we have to provide the row mapper with the help of new bean property row mapper. We should say here within the bracket student dot class and then the generic data type as student. Then just put a semicolon at the last. It will be returned as a single object now. So whatever you are retrieving from the database, which will be retrieved with the help of query for object, and then that will be converted to a single student value, then that value will be returned to the called place. Now one more function I would like to write. That function is to get all the students. That means list of student is the return type. Now I will just say get all students. To get all the students, there is no need to get the parameter, just we need to return the values. So first I will write a string SQL query, select star from student MVC is the table name. Now the query is been ready. Now I have to return the answer, that means the list of students from the query. For that purpose I need to execute as well. So return as usual JDBC template dot. This time we will use the query with the row mapper. That means JDBC template dot query query, and query should have SQL as well as the row mapper. There should be 2 parameters for this. You can select this one. So I am selecting this one. First one is the SQL, that is been fine, and the second one is going to be the row mapper. Just write here new row mapper. Row mapper of type you have to write student, and after the generic angle bracket just put a constructor bracket and open this one as well and give a enter here. You can put a semicolon at the last and come in between to have a public student is the return type and map row is the function. Map row function will have 2 parameters. One is result set and then the other one is the row. The row is actually int row, which will throws SQL exception. And inside this just create a object for student, space s equal to new student, and then just set the values for s.getId as rs.getInt of 1. Similarly, s.getName rs.getString of column index 2. In fact, we are setting the values, so we need to use the set method instead of get. So now we just set the values for ID and the name for the new student object. Now the error is gone. Now just return this new student value, which will be returned to this map_row function. So this student object will get this S on every row iterations, and every row is converted to the S, that means student object, and then all the list of objects will be returned to the called place of get all students. And now just we have to import this list from util.java.util package, then that error will be gone. Okay, now the employee DAO class is been done. Let me go to the app controller class. This app controller actually need to act as a controller, so we have to add the controller annotation to this. Then only this class will act as a controller. And here first we need to have the object for the DAO class, because we need to use it for our database operations. So just write DAO space DAO, and the right side one can be auto wired here. Now I need to write controllers for show, edit and delete operation. So first I will start with the show operation, that is public string is the return type and show is the function. I'm going to show the list of students in the JSP page. For that purpose I need to use DAO.getAllStudents. This will return a list of students that I have to store it. So before this DAO.getAllStudents I have to put equal to, then I have to say list of student and the list value as L. Now L holds the list of student. Now we need to add this L as a parameter to the JSP page. Before that, this list I have to import from util package. Now I need to add the L as a parameter to the JSP page. That means I have to create a object for model space M, and this object I have to use. Model also I have to import it. Now this m.add attribute you have to use, and then you can add the attribute. First the attribute name you can say it as list, and then the second one is the attribute value L. Now I have to say what is the JSP page which I am returning these for. So that should be in a return, and here the JSP page name I can say that I can say it as show.jsp, which is under the JSP folder. But remember, this prefix and suffix can be avoided if you write the things in spring-servlet.xml file. that we will write. So as of now I'm just removing the JSP folder prefix and then the .jsp suffix from here, so which will be compensated by writing the code over there. Just I will say the name of the JSP file here. Now this function need to trigger at some point of time. Okay, that can be triggered by at the rate get mapping. Then you can say the URL to listen. I'm just saying the URL as show. That's it. When you get the URL as /show after the project name, this particular function will get triggered and it will retrieve the list from the DAO. Then the list will be added as a parameter. Then finally it is passed to the show.jsp page under JSP folder. Okay, now show operation is been completed here. Similarly, we have to do the delete and then that means the edit and the delete pages with the help of a function here. Okay, so now I will do the edit option. For that purpose I will just create public string edit is the function name. Okay, and for this function there should be one URL mapping, and that mapping is going to be also get mapping. Within this get mapping, if I say something like /edit, definitely I should get the ID what I need to edit. That can be set as the flower brackets and then the ID value, and that can be received inside this parameter as well with the help of @path variable. So you have to mention the variable name ID which I had used just above, and then the parameter here. So the ID in the path is substituted to the ID in the parameter here. Then I need to write the function body. Now I have to edit it, which is holding the ID value by the URL. So I need to retrieve that with the help of DAO.get student by ID. I have to pass this ID value. Now you all know that I will get a single object. That single object I need to store. Just I'm storing it in a student space S where object. Now that S object I have to add as a parameter. Okay, then only I can able to pass this object value to the JSP page, and in the JSP page I can get the new value to save it. So how to add parameter? You know, m.add. If you want to use m.add parameter, definitely you need to have a model object to be created here, and then you can use m.add attribute, and then the first one is the attribute name. You give it as command command, and then the value as the new student object S. Okay, now you have to return to the JSP page. I will say that JSP page is something like edit.jsp that I am returning. Now the error is been gone from here. Assuming that edit.jsp will have ID box and name box where the name can be edited. Okay, and after editing the name there will be one submit button or save button. If you click the save button, now it need to save. For that purpose I need to write one more function here to handle the save operation of edit. So for that purpose I am writing public string edit save is the function name. Now I need to receive the object from the JSP page with the help of @model attribute. Then I can say what is the attribute name, stu or just s, and this I need to store it here with the help of student S. Now whatever I am receiving as an object, that will be stored in a student S. Now what I have to use, I have to save this. How to save this? You have to save it by DAO dot, that is an update operation actually. So you have to use the update operation with student S. This update operation will actually return the value which is been affected, number of rows. That will be stored in int R, that means result, or number of rows affected. Then just you can return it to the page where you will display all the student data, but actually that page is here /show. Once again you can return to show, or else you can redirect to show. Here I am going to redirect to show. Okay, just I am going to say return redirect :show. So it will redirect to /show, which will display the all student data after editing. So our edit operation is been done. Now similarly I need to delete it. For deleting it, I once again required, but one more thing we had missed it. The edit save should be also triggered from the controller, that means the URL. Okay, how it can be triggered? When this edit.jsp page is submitting the data, it need to be triggered. That means in a post method. Remember, that means you have to handle the form data with the help of @model attribute. You have to use post mapping, and then the URL for the post mapping, something like I will say edit save, the same URL I will say. And you don't want to get any URL variable here. Instead of that, you will get the function, that means request body, which will be taken as model attribute S. Okay, because it is a post method. If it is a get method, something will come in the URL like ID value in the previous case. Okay, so now I have to go for the delete operation. So public, once again string, all the functions return type is going to be string only, because we are going to redirect to some of the JSP pages, and that we will return as a string. Okay, now I will say delete operation, that is delete. For deleting, once again I need the ID value, which I will get it from the URL only, that is once again by the get method, that means get mapping. I set the ID value from URL now, that means from the get mapping. Just you type delete in the URL, then / the ID value which you are receiving, and then that you have to receive it and assign to this int ID with the help of path variable annotation. Okay, this path variable annotation will get the ID value and assign to this int ID. Now I need to delete it. How to delete it? We have to use DAO.delete operation. Then you have to pass the ID, which will return a integer result. So you can write something like int r equal to, and then this will be deleted. Now after deleting it, you have to once again redirect to the show page. So just I am redirecting that to a show page. It will show the entire student data. Now I need to have one more page for adding the student details. That one I will say public space string. I will say this as add. So while adding the student detail, you don't want any parameter to be get as an input, but you need to send the value to the JSP page. What value? The empty form, the empty student object you have to send to the JSP page. There it will be assigned and get back. So how will you send to the JSP page? You have to have model space m. With the help of m, you can say m dot add attribute. Okay, first you have to say the attribute name, that means the referring name, command. It should be command only. Okay, then the second one should be the object, actual student object, that is new student. The empty object is returned. Then this empty object is passed to the JSP page, but you did not set the JSP page name now. That one we have to say now. Return. The JSP page name is going to be something like add.jsp, that is add. Okay, now this one need to get triggered by the browser URL. For that purpose I am just using get mapping again. With the help of get mapping, the URL I will say add. If you get URL / add, then this function will be triggered. The empty object is passed to the add.jsp page. When you click the add.jsp page save button, that means after filling all the data, you want to save the value. When you click the add.jsp page save button, I can say it is add save annotation, that means add save path. Okay, which is a post method. So I will say post mapping of /add save. So some URL is occurring and you are sending the data to saving it. That need to be handled. Okay, that means whatever the data is in add.jsp page, when you click on the save button, the /add save will be appear in the browser URL and you need to handle it. So I am handling it. Public string. Now I will say add save is the function name, and here I will be actually receiving the parameter as well, because that parameter is going to be the request body value, that is a form data, which I will receive it as model attribute of some name I have to give. Then this I can assign it in a student s, and this student s I can use it to insert operation, that is dao dot insert of s. Once again this will return a integer which will show the number of rows affected, that's why int r. Then after adding all the student, I have to once again redirect to the show page, okay, which will show all the student data. That means after adding a single student data, I am redirecting to the show page, where it will show all the student data. Okay, now adding the student and managing the add save. Similarly, editing the student, managing the edit save. Here managing the delete, and then we are having a show which will show all the student data. Okay, with this your controller class is being done. Now your student bean class done, DAO class done, and then the app controller class is done. We have to work with the JSP pages and the Spring injecting values, and also with the web.xml. Okay, so let me get into the index.jsp page first. So in the index.jsp page, under the body tag it is having hello world. With this I will have two links, one is add student, another one is display student. Okay, so for that purpose I am having a anchor tag. Here I will say add student, and then another anchor tag I will say show student. So inside the anchor tag I can say what is the href value, that means the We all know in the controller for the add page I had given something like add/add, just so I will give the same in the index.jsp as add. When I say /add, what will happen? It will make localhost port number /add. But the issue is we will normally have localhost port number /project name /add. That means after project name I need to append the add. That means I should not have this slash there. If I'm not having the slash, it will append. If I'm having the slash, it will replace the existing URL. Okay. Now similarly ahref, for this one it will be show. As per the controller value I am giving it here. My index page is ready now. Okay. Now I need to go within the web.inf folder. Here already web.xml file is there. Inside that already you are having a display name. In this place we need to have more data now. That is, we need to control the servlet here. First we need to go with servlet tag and another tag called servlet mapping. Inside the servlet mapping class we will have servlet -name and another tag called URL pattern. You can say any user defined name here. I'm just saying yes1. Okay. And some URL pattern here I'm just saying /, which will be working on a home page kind of. That means it is localhost the port number /. That immediate / is being written here. And inside the servlet we can once again have the servlet name. In the servlet name say the same name in the servlet mapping, so it will be mapped. Then we need to have what the class we need to trigger, that is the servlet class. So here we have to write the class to trigger. The class to trigger is org.springframework.web.servlet servlet.dispatcher servlet. This is the class we are going to trigger it, and this class when we are going to trigger it means we are going to trigger that on load on startup, and the priority for that is 1. So we will trigger like when the application is been loading. Which class we will trigger? We will trigger org.springframework.web.servlet. The class name is dispatcher servlet. Okay, this dispatcher servlet actually dispatches the index.jsp page for us. Okay, then this web.xml part is been over. Now we have to go into the JSP page. But before going into the JSP page, I need to have the dependency injection for this project with the help of one more file called springservlet.xml. Right click your web.inf, go to new, and then you have to create a file here because there is no XML file, just file, and then you can say spring-servlet.xml spring-servlet.xml, and then you create the file. It is showing the cross mark on the top because we had set as XML file, but there is no code related to XML. Just go to your PPT. In the PPT we are having the code for spring-servlet.xml, which is a base code. Just copy the base code and paste it. the error will be gone. So now within this bean opening and closing tag, we need to start working. First we have to write a tag for context colon component scan, and we have to say the base package, like what is the package name we are having, com.klu.spring MVC. This is the package name we are having, com.klu.spring MVC. So that base package you have to give it here. Then you can have it as a self-closing tag or tag separately closed as well. Now I am going to create a bean tag for class org.spring framework .web .servlet .view .internal resource view resolver. Okay, this is the class name. So we are going to create a bean for the class org.spring-framework.web.servlet.view.internal resource view resolver. Okay, so in this class there is two property. Okay, before that one more correction, we have to make resource resource resource. Okay, now we are having a property name as prefix and another property name as suffix. First we will write a prefix value. The prefix value is going to be /webinf. See, remember this is for handling the JSP pages. By default the application will look for the JSP page under web app folder, but we are going to create a JSP folder under webinf and then the JSP pages inside that. So I am going to give in the prefix /webinf/JSP. okay, and then one more slash to get in. Now another property is very similar to this, that is the suffix property. So now instead of prefix you just change it to suffix suffix, and then here you just change it to .jsp. So the prefix and suffix of the returned value, returned string in your controller is given here. Okay, now create a JDBC connection and the injection for it. Where is your JDBC connection? Actually in the DAO class you are having JDBC template. For this actually you are having a setter method as well. In this setter method you have to inject the JDBC template so that the right side part will be assigned for this. How will you going to inject is going to be from the spring.xml on the runtime. So we have to create the beans now. Actually I'm going to create 3 beans. The last bean is going to inject the value to this DAO JDBC template property. Okay, the first bean I'm going to create. So bean space class equal to org.spring-framework.jdbc.data source dot, the class name is driver manager data source. Okay, so for this bean you have to say 4 properties actually. First one, the property name equal to driver class name, and then the property value you have to say value equal to com.mysql.jdbc.driver. Then the next property. So first property is to have the dependency for the connection. The second property is the URL for the connection. So the value for that is JDBC colon mysql colon / localhost colon 3306 is the default port number / JFSD is my database name. So I had given the value. Then the next property is going to be the username. Okay, property, just you can say username and value, and value for that is root. Then the next property is going to be password, and value for that is, in my case, the password also root. Okay, so I had set the value for 4 properties under driver manager data source class. Okay, and I need to name this bean as well to use it later. Okay, I'm going to name this bean ID as DS data source. So the second bean I'm going to create now. Bean, inside that class equal to org.springframework.jdbc.core.jdbc template. This is the class. It is having one property called data source. So property name data source, and the value for the property is the reference. The reference is the DS data source which we created already. Okay, with this this particular bean is been completed, and I want to use this bean also in the later phase. So I will use ID equal to the JDBC template, that means JDBC template. So I'm just having the ID value as JT, and I'm going to have my third bean which will inject the data to DAO class. Okay, so my third bean, in this once again ID I can have as DAO, and then class, this time the class is nothing but my class, that is com.klu.spring MVC. This is the package name. Dot, what is the class which I want to inject? DAO. Okay, so for this DAO class I need to inject the values. So inside the DAO class I am just giving the property name. The name of the property here is JDBC template. So just give JDBC template, and what you want to inject is the reference of JT. Okay, so now the dependency injection for the JDBC template will be completed. Now we can move on to create the JSP pages. So I will be moving on to create the JSP pages under JSP folder inside the web app, that means web-inf folder. Right click web-inf folder, new folder, you create a folder called JSP. Inside the JSP folder we need to have 3 JSP files. So the first JSP file, right click the JSP, new, try to find the JSP file here, new JSP file, and then the JSP file name is add.jsp, that is the first JSP file. So immediately you can able to see some code is been came here for the add.jsp. Similarly, I need to create few more JSP files. Right click the JSP folder and then create another JSP file called show.jsp. Then another file edit.jsp. Okay, now let me start with add.jsp. When this add.jsp will be called from your controller, you can able to see here I am calling add.jsp when /add is occurring in the browser URL. Okay, what it is getting as parameter, empty form, that means the empty student, it is getting as a parameter, so I have to use it to make a form for the empty student. Okay, so in the add.jsp I will be making this in a single line first, and in the next line I am going to create a tag lib URI. So similar to the previous line, just open angle bracket percentage symbol and @ symbol, then write tag lib, okay, space URL equal to the URL and then the prefix for that. Okay, the first URL is for the form creation, which is from springframework.org/tag/form, and I'm going to say form as the prefix. That means wherever I'm using form colon, that form is based on this particular URL. Okay, that is the meaning of that. Then second tab lib I will create similarly. This time the URL and prefix I have to, URL is JSTL core and then prefix I am going to use it as C. This is for the looping purpose. Okay, the first one is for the form creation, second one is for the looping purpose. Let we have both in all the pages first. So wherever we want we can flexibly use it. Just I will make this in show.jsp. And then I will make the same I think the error is from the URI actually. Tag lib space URI I have to give instead of URL. This is the uniform resource identifier. Just I will change to URI. Okay, now just I will copy the same and then I will go to the edit page as well. I will paste it. Now there is no error in any of the pages. Okay, now I am going to have a heading tag which says add student. How to add student? I need to create a form tag, not simple form tag. I will get form colon form, that is from the prefix which I am creating. Okay, and then method of that is going to be post only. Okay, and then action, we can say the action according to the controller class. So when I submit it now, I need to get a particular place. So which place I have to check it in the controller class. In this controller class you can able to see /add will load the add.jsp page, and then /add save will get the form data to save it. So what I have to say it here, I have to say it /add save. When I give /add save, it will try to replace the existing one. That means it will try to replace localhost colon some port number, okay, /add save like this. But this won't work. I need the project name also here. Okay, then add save, that means spring MVC /add save. So what I have to give it here in the action is I have to give it here spring MVC /add save. Okay, otherwise you can give only add save, which will append at the last. Okay, after the project name, but I am following this method, right? Now the form tag has been created. Inside the form tag I need to have the form fields. How many fields I want? I want only 2 fields. Okay, first field is input. First field is like input type text, but I want that also from the form prefix. Okay, so form colon input. Okay, then I don't want to write in a normal way. I can write directly here path equal to, I can match the path of the object. So what is the attribute inside the object? ID. So I can directly say ID here. Okay, and before that I can say ID colon. Similarly, name colon, I can say form colon input. Okay, space path equal to the attribute name, that is name. Okay, then the form is done, but we need the submit button. Okay. Submit button is as usual way. So input type equal to submit, and then value equal to what the value want to display over the button, that is save. Then it is a self-closing tag. So now my form is ready for this. When I click save, I will get Spring MVC /add save. When I get /add save, my controller will get trigger the function to save it. Okay. Similarly, I need to go for the show function, where I need to show all the values. What I will get for the show function? From the controller, whenever I am calling show function na, that means show page na, I have to say it as show JSP page. Whenever I am calling the show JSP page, I am just passing the entire list to that in the name of list. Okay, so I have to display the list of students, right? So I will display that here. Inside the show, just I will create a table tag to display the list of students. Inside the table tag, then first tr tag open and /tr tag, then inside that th tag, that is for the ID table heading, and then another th tag for the name. Then I need the next row to be number of times the ID and value, the ID and name should be repeated. That means I have to have a looping here. Okay, first loop can be done by C colon, you can able to get for each. So inside for each, there is a variable name. For this, the variable name I can say yes, and then items. In the items, I double quotes, inside that dollar within flower brackets list. So this is how I am receiving the list value from my controller page and assigning that to the S. Every time the current object will be in the S. Within this for loop, I can create the number of rows. Every time when the for loop is running, one row will be created, and the first table data should be related to the ID value. The second table data should be related to the name. How to assign the ID value now? Just you have to use dollar and then set brackets. Okay, inside that you can say yes dot ID. S is the variable name, current object dot ID. Similarly, dollar S dot name. Okay. Now just after saving, the error is been removed. Okay. So now I am having a table row, okay, which will display the ID and name, but I want the edit and delete also to be done with this. That means I need to have two more table headings. That is for delete, that means first edit I will say, and another one is for delete. So each row I can able to edit and delete. For that purpose I need to add another table data for edit and another one for delete. Okay, just I will have a anchor tag here, and then I will say edit, and then another anchor tag here I will say delete. Now inside this anchor tag I have to give href for both the things. So what location I need to give? In the app controller you just refer it. I am saying it as edit save, that means first I am saying it as edit and then the ID. Okay, just copy this edit and then the ID. Go to your show.jsp, paste this. In place of ID you need to give $yes.id, that means student ID, which is the current one. Okay, and similarly you go to the app controller and get the delete one. Just come to show.jsp and paste it. Here in place of ID use $and s.id once again. But remember, these two will replace the things from the existing, that means the URL, because I used the slash at the beginning. So I need to have the project name that is better. Okay, so what is the project name I am having? Spring MVC. Okay, and I can have slash now in the starting. Similarly here also. Now the show page is completed, and whenever it is been clicked for edit and delete, the edit page and delete page, that means edit and delete operation will be triggered. Okay, now I need to create the edit page as well. In the edit page, when this page will be called in the app controller, you go and see where you call the edit. See, in this particular part, when you are having edit/id, edit page is triggered with what value? With one student value that is passed as command. That means in the form we need to display the student value. Just go to the edit page, whatever we are having in the add page now, just copy this one. Okay, just copy this one. I am just pasting in the edit page inside body. I will replace this as edit student in the heading. Then it is also going to make the form in the post method, but this time it is not add save, this is edit save. Okay, and then the ID and name, which will be mapped with the old value, we can change it in the runtime, and then we can click on edit save button. Okay, that's it. The edit page is also over. When you click edit save button, edit save will be appearing on the URL. That will trigger this particular post mapping, which will update the value and redirect to the show, right? So now almost our project seems to be completed. We have to check the running. Before running this, I have to create the table as well in my database. So I am going to my database with the help of Workbench, and in the Workbench I will just go to my database but you are seeing here there is no connection established. That means my server is not running. Just I will go to my run services.msc. Inside that you can check for MySQL 80. Just start the service. So once the service is been started, then once again just close this particular connection and again reopen the connection. Now there is no error in this place. Okay, so just I will remove these statements. I will use JFSD for my operation database, and then I will create a table. Create table student MVC. I want to create a ID which is int, okay, and which is primary key as well, okay, and then name which is varchar. I can say varchar of 30. So my table can be created in this way, and then I can select the table just writing select star from student MVC. Actually there will be nothing in my table now because the table is empty. Okay, I can go back to my Eclipse, then I can try to run this. Okay, I'm just right clicking and run this as run on server. Okay, since we had done a bigger project, there might be errors. Let me check it. If it is, we will solve. Okay, run on server. We have to select the server. Tomcat 9.0 I am using. Then Spring MVC I am running. Then finish it. Actually, it seems to be some errors hitting in this, but anyway, we landed in the place. We will check by adding one student. I hope so error may occur. Let me check. See, I am getting an error. Servlet init for servlet s1 throw exception. You check the error in the console as well. In console it is showing that as could not open servlet context resource web-inf sl-servlet.xml. Okay, let me check this. As per the error, we have to say our Spring servlet.xml file in our web.xml. That means after this servlet class, you can say the init parameter as context config location, and then the configuration location you can say under web-inf we are having the injecting file as spring servlet.xml. that is this spring servlet.xml. This file could not be able to identify it, and that is why the problem is occurring. So now the file can be identified under web-inf and the file name we had specified. So you just save it and stop the server, and let me try to rerun and check for the errors again. Just give Tomcat and finish. It is rerunning, but again showing some error in the console. Let me check for the error. So go for the first line of error. It is saying error creating with a bean with name app controller, and DAO is not injected properly. Just go to the right end of that error. Okay, in the right end of the error we can able to see bean property data source. We can able to see bean property data source is not writable or has an invalid setter method. And did you mean data source as capital? That means the data source attribute should have S capital. We might be wrongly used that, so we have to go to our Spring Servlet, and here is our data source property. Just have it as S capital, and once again we will try to run this. and let me check for the errors again. Just click on Tomcat and click on finish. It is asking already the server is running, so stop the server and then we will run it again. Run on server and then finish. So this time let me once again check for the errors, what is happening. In the first line of error, just that means the first line of error is been here, error creating the bean. So you just go to the rightmost end. Here you will be getting the detail. Bean property suffix is not writable and has an invalid setter method. Did you mean suffix suffix? So now I think you got the error. So go to the console. Where is suffix? Here. So here you just give suffix suffix. Okay, then we will just try to run it again. Run on server again, finish. Now this time we will check for errors once again. I don't think error is caused on this time, so it is been running. Okay, now we will just go to add student. Then we are landed up with different sort of error here. So the error stating that line number 13, that is the ID value which we are getting. We can able to note in line number 12, instead of FORM I had said FROM, from. So we will go to the IDE. Here line number 12 need to be corrected with FORM, 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 form. Okay, and the closing tag also need to be corrected accordingly. Now I hope so that error may gone. Let me check once again. I will try to run. Let me once again click on add student. This time I got the ID value and the name value. So ID I will just give 10, name I will give my name. Let me once again expect the errors to be, because we had hard coded this, and let me click on save. See, it is not showing error, but something is coming in ID and name. Let me check in our database. Select star from student MVC. I think we got inserted 10 and Balaji successfully. That means it is inserted. The error is now in the page which is displaying. Okay, the display page is not displaying actual content. It is displaying s.id and s.name instead of displaying the value. Let me go to the display page now, that is show.jsp. Okay, in this page we have to check it. To solve the error, come to the show.jsp page, and then in the first line of page directives, after the page give one space and then add one property called is ignored equal to false. This is because of the JavaScript version we are using. Okay, that means JSP, not JavaScript, JSP version we are using, and because of that we have to use the property ELI, that means is ignored false, and then save it. Go to Spring MVC and run once again. Let me check this. Okay, so now let me directly go with show student, or else I will go with add student also. I will add another student like student 2. Let me click on save. It will redirect me to the show page. Here you can able to now see both the values are coming in, and I want to edit the student 2 value now. Let me check whether edit function is working or not. Click on edit. Once again we are, as expected, getting into the error. The error is actually in employee, like DAO class. In the student DAO class, select staff from student MVC where ID equal to 20. It is saying index out of range. Okay, we'll go to DAO class. Okay, in the DAO class where we return that query, we have to reach that place. Select star from, this is the place actually. Here if you see now, select star from student MVC where ID equal to, I had given the ID value, but later I am also passing the ID value in the runtime. Okay, so that means the first one should be select star from ID equal to, just you have it as a question mark, then this value will be passed in the below one. Okay, here. So just save it after this, and then we will try to run again by stopping this. Run as, run on server. Let me get to finish. We will straight away launch source student now. Now we will try to click edit button here. Okay, now you can easily guess the error. Actually I had also typed from in line number 14 instead of form, which is in edit.jsp page. Just go to edit.jsp page. So here also you just replace the same thing, form, and then form form. Okay, save it. Now we once again try. Once again click on show student and then click on edit. Now this time successfully we landed in the edit page. Let me change the student name to Balaji2, and then we will click edit save. Let me check what is happening now. It is successfully changed as well. Very good. Now when we delete the student second one, this is the final operation, delete. We deleted successfully. That means everything is running now. So let me end our code here, right? And thank you.